There are a lot of things I can take, and some things I can't. The air down here is stale, thick with the smell of damp concrete, 50 pounds of cat litter, and my own sour fear. 4 days left. That's the best estimate they gave us, before the broadcast started looping the same civil defense instructions. 4 days until arrival. I call it my bunker, but it's just a basement in Ohio. I've pushed the washer and dryer against the bulkhead door. I've taped black garbage bags over the 2 small hopper windows near the ceiling, though I don't know why. If they can travel across the galaxy to turn us into ash, a layer of hefty plastic isn't going to stop them. It's for my own peace of mind. So I don't have to look out and see an ordinary backyard that's about to become a battlefield. Barnaby is curled up on a stack of canned peaches. He's an orange tabby, usually a vocal bastard, but he's been quiet for 2 days now. Animals know. The air pressure changed. Or maybe there's a vibration in the earth too subtle for my feet, but deafening to his paws. He just watches me with those saucer eyes, his tail giving a nervous twitch every time the furnace kicks on. The center of my universe is a red battery-operated Grundig emergency radio. I bought it for tornado season 5 years ago. Now it's my oracle. It sits on a folding card table, antenna extended all the way to the floor joists above. Most of the dial is just a wash of angry white noise, the sound of a planet screaming into the void. But if I tune it carefully just past the AM band, I find the voices.
Evacuations in coastal cities are stalled. Repeat, gridlock on all major outbound arteries. Do not, I repeat, do not attempt to leave major urban centers at this time. Shelter in place. Do not, I repeat, do not attempt to leave major urban centers at this time. Shelter in place, below ground if possible. God help us all.
Static swallowed the rest. I took a sip of lukewarm water from a gallon jug. Hear that, Barnaby? Below ground. We're ahead of the curve. Barnaby didn't blink. 2 days left. The isolation is a physical weight. It feels like the dirt around the foundation is pressing inward, trying to crush this little pocket of air. I find myself staring at the shadows in the corners, convinced they are moving. Every creak of the house settling upstairs sounds like a footstep. Signs. I keep thinking about that old movie. The way they just sat in that farmhouse, terrified of noises they couldn't identify, getting information in snippets from an old TV. And that scene with, I think Graham, well, it's been rattling around in my head, considering all. So, he was sitting there, everything was dark, and he starts talking about how there are really only 2 types of people in this world, explaining that it's all about how you handle it when something lucky happens. And well, according to him, you've got group 1. These are the people who see a lucky break and think it's a sign. To them, it's proof that someone, God, the universe, whatever, is actually looking out for them. He then follows with group 2, the ones that just see luck, pure coincidence. He was looking at those lights in the sky and said the group 2 people are terrified right now. They think they're totally on their own, and it's a coin flip whether things go good or bad. That thought now just eats away at me. He went on to say, but the group 1 people, they're looking at those same lights and seeing a miracle. They have this deep down feeling that no matter how scary things get, they aren't alone. There's a plan, or at least someone there to catch them. That's where they get their hope. He ended it by putting it right on you. He asked, which one are you? Are you the person who sees miracles? Or do you just think people get lucky? For me, miracles and luck are one and the same. Miracles don't happen that often, nor on demand. Neither does luck. That's my life now. I don't know what the enemy looks like. Are they bugs? Are they lizards? Are they amorphous clouds of gas? The government, in their infinite wisdom, only released the trajectory and the intent. Hostile. Inbound. The radio crackled to life again around 3 o'clock a.m. It wasn't a news anchor this time. It sounded like a military frequency bleed over.
Squadron leader, we have bogies entering atmosphere over the Atlantic seaboard. My instruments are going haywire. I can't get a lock. They're fast. Jesus, they're so
A sharp hiss of static cut off the pilot's terrified voice. Then silence. The kind of silence that rings in your ears. I held my breath. Above me, far above the taped-up windows, I felt a vibration. It wasn't sound, not yet. It was a thrum deep in my chest cavity. Barnaby hissed, arching his back, staring at the ceiling. It had begun early, day 0. I don't know how much time passed. Hours? A day? Time lost its shape in the basement. The world above consisted only of noises that filtered down through the floorboards. There were sonic booms that shook dust from the rafters, coating my tongue with grit. There were distant sirens that wailed until they abruptly cut out. And then the other sounds, a low mechanical churning, like a colossal machine grinding the sky into paste. And heat. The basement, usually cool, grew stiflingly hot. The radio was my torture device. It confirmed the apocalypse in real time.
London is gone. Confirmed. London is silent. Multiple impacts reported in Beijing, Moscow, Washington. Conventional weapons are ineffective. I repeat, conventional weapons have zero effect on the shielding. They are brushing us aside.
The broadcaster was crying. It was the most terrifying thing I'd ever heard. A grown man, a professional voice of authority, breaking down into sobbing jag on live air. "We're okay, Barnaby," I whispered, stroking the cat so hard fur came loose in my sweating palms. "We're small. They don't care about small things." Then came the shaking, a boom so close it knocked the Grundig off the table. The lights flickered and died, plunging us into absolute darkness save for the tiny red power LED of the radio on the floor. I scrambled for it, clutching it like a rosary. The sounds upstairs changed. No more jets. No more sirens. Just a heavy, wet thudding on the lawn outside. Something massive had landed nearby. I heard glass break upstairs. The kitchen window. My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. I huddled in the corner behind the furnace, Barnaby shoving his head under my armpit. I could hear movement above, heavy clicking footsteps on the linoleum. Not human. Too many legs or too much weight on two. They were in the house. The radio, lying sideways on the concrete, was outputting only a low, mournful hum. It was over. Humanity had lasted maybe 24 hours. I squeezed my eyes shut, waiting for the basement door to be torn off its hinges. And then the hum on the radio shifted. It changed from static to a piercing 3-tone alert screech. The emergency broadcast system. The sound that used to mean a severe thunderstorm warning now meant the end of the world. It cut out, replaced by a voice. It wasn't panic-stricken. It wasn't crying. It was resonant, eerily calm and familiar.
My fellow citizens, this is the President of the United States.
I opened my eyes in the dark. The sheer audacity of it. We were exterminated and he was giving a speech.
At 0400 hours today, our forces across the globe were effectively neutralized. The enemy invading force, a species we have designated the Vanguard, possesses technology vastly superior to our own. We have lost. There is no shame in admitting that we are outmatched by a force that can bend physics to its will.
Above me, the clicking footsteps stopped. It was as if the thing upstairs was listening too.
However,
the president's voice hardened.
I must now reveal a truth that has been kept from humanity for 70 years. A truth hidden to prevent panic, to maintain the illusion of our supremacy on this planet.
A pause. The static hissed.
We have never been alone. Since Roswell, and perhaps for millennia before, another intelligence has shared this world with us. They live in the deep oceans, in cavern systems beneath our feet, in the spaces we do not look. You know them from folklore, from blurry photographs, from abductee tales. The reticulans, the Greys.
My breath caught. My mind reeled. The Greys, the little men with big eyes. The stuff of late-night AM talk radio and tinfoil hats.
They are observers. Scientists have watched our violent infancy with detached interest, adhering to a strict doctrine of non-interference. They are frail physical beings, unsuited for combat. But their minds, Their minds operate on a plane we cannot comprehend.
The clicking upstairs resumed, pacing angrily.
The Greys did not intervene to save us from ourselves, but they will intervene to save their home. They recognize the Vanguard as a parasitic swarm that will consume Earth entirely. And so, an hour ago, the High Council of the Reticulans made contact with what remains of my administration. They have chosen a side.
The floor beneath me vibrated again, but this time it felt different. It wasn't a mechanical churning. It was a low, pulsating hum that seemed to originate from deep underground. Vibrating up through the concrete slab.
They do not have soldiers, but they have technology that makes the Vanguard look like they are throwing stones. Look to the skies. The shadows are coming.
The broadcast cut to silence. Then the soundscape changed completely. The heavy, wet churning noise outside was drowned out by a new sound. A high-pitched, shimmering whine, almost beautiful, like thousands of crystal glasses vibrating in unison. I heard a massive thoom, a displacement of air so sudden my ears popped. The thing upstairs shrieked, a sound not of this earth, a guttural clicking roar of surprise and pain. Then the sound of heavy impacts retreating, running away. I crawled to the radio, turning the dial frantically. I hit a military band again. Another voice, breathless.
Target acquired. Holy mother of... Did you see that? That silver disc just sliced the Vanguard...
They're rising from the ocean off the coast of Japan. Hundreds of them. Needles. Sleek silver needles. The Vanguard ships are breaking formation. They're running!
I sat back against the cold furnace, the radio clutched to my chest. Barnaby finally pulled his head out from my arm and let out a tentative meow. Above us, the house went quiet. The oppressive heat began to fade. I wasn't going up there. Not yet. I sat in the dark, listening to the radio tell me the impossible story of how the monsters under the bed had just come out to save us from the burglars. The static hissed, but for the first time in 4 days, it didn't sound like screaming. It just sounded like the empty airwaves of a planet that had survived. The silence that followed wasn't the silence of peace. It was the silence of a vacuum, of a held breath. For an hour, I didn't move. The high-pitched, shimmering whine continued outside, fading in and out like a passing siren. But the heavy mechanical thudding of the invaders, the Vanguard, had ceased entirely. I clicked the little wheel on the side of the Grundig. The military chatter was gone, replaced by a looped message on the emergency frequency.
Stand by. Ceasefire. Do not engage the silver vessel. Repeat, do not engage the silver vessels. They are friendly. All civilians remain in shelter. Debris falling in sectors 4, 7, and 9.
Friendly, I muttered to the damp air. That's a hell of a word for it. Barnaby stood up, stretched his orange frame into a perfect arch, and trotted toward the stairs. He sat on the bottom step and looked back at me, letting out a demanding murrow. You sure? I asked him. He started grooming a paw. He was sure. I grabbed the baseball bat I'd leaned against the furnace, a pathetic weapon against interstellar conquerors. But it felt good to hold wood and clip the radio to my belt. I pushed the washer and dryer aside. The metal scraped loudly against the concrete, a harsh sound that made me wince, but nothing came crashing through the door. I turned the knob. It unlocked with a heavy clack. The air that rushed in from the kitchen didn't smell like home. It smelled like a thunderstorm, that sharp metallic scent of ozone, mixed with something acrid, like burning hair. I crept up the stairs, the wood creaking under my weight. The kitchen was a wreck. The window over the sink was shattered, glass crunching under my boots. There were gouges in the linoleum, 3 deep parallel grooves that looked like they'd been carved by a backhoe. The fridge was on its side, but the intruder was gone. I stepped carefully over the debris, moving toward the sliding glass door that led to the backyard. The glass was gone there too. The curtains billowed in a breeze that was unseasonably cold. I walked out onto the wooden deck. The sky was the wrong color. It was a bruised purple, choked with smoke from the city 10 miles west. Then the horrific reality settled in. As far as the eye could see, the world had been erased. My neighborhood, the town, the horizon itself, gone. Everything had been flattened into a gray wasteland of ash and silence. Everything, that is, except for us. My home stood like a solitary island in a leveled hellscape. Barnaby hopped up onto the deck railing, his tail twitching against the silence. We both stared out into the void. I then turned back at my pristine siding, and the logic of it failed me. Standing there, the only survivors in a sea of dust, I had to decide right then what I believed in. The silence begged an answer. Am I the kind of person who sees a miracle? Or do I just believe I got lucky? But looking at my untouched house, is it possible that there are no coincidences?
A portrait of a man, any man, and his cat, standing on a wooden deck on a domestic island in a sea of nothingness. Survivors who have just discovered that the shortest distance between a miracle and a nightmare is a single floorboard. To his left, his quiet companion sits idle. To his right, the impossible. He is a man who sought the comfort of coincidence, only to find himself a prisoner of purpose. For in this quiet corner of the map, the laws of chance have been repealed, replaced by the cold, calculated architecture of a higher design. He may have kept his home, but he has lost the luxury of doubt in the quiet, leveled remains of Anywhere, USA. A common man who had pled for safety, never realizing that to be singled out by the universe is the loneliest fate of all. Luck is a roll of the dice. A miracle is a heavy hand upon the shoulder. And for our survivor, the weight of being spared is far heavier than the weight of what was lost. A lesson in gratitude, perhaps, or a final exam in a classroom where he is the only student left. In the Grundig Diaries.